Okay, so it's Earth Week, and as I am a permaculture designer here at Green Lady, I wanted to share with you this resource, which I think is really helpful for people who want to reduce their carbon footprint or kind of have a better understanding of like what are actually the most important and impactful initiatives or efforts that I should be putting into trying to reverse climate change. So you may have seen the Drawdown book that came out a couple of years ago. Project Drawdown is this massive global like science-backed project that continually updates their research and their data to actually quantify the initiatives that every sector of society should be taking to get to drawdown, which they refer to as the point in which greenhouse gases in the atmosphere will actually be decreasing. And so their priorities are for us to stop emitting greenhouse gases, to sink carbon, which is another way of saying basically to store it so that it's not free floating in the atmosphere, and then to improve social equality, which it's interesting how those sort of align with the permaculture principles of earth care, people care, and fair share. So wanted to quickly show you, they just launched a sort of a new page here, which is really helpful for people who kind of don't know where to start. And it's called Discover Drawdown. So if you are on the home page and you go up to the menu, come over to the Discover tab. And in these two drop-down boxes, I would say, like, if you're just an average person and you're wanting to know, like, what can I do, as an individual or as a family, sort of looking at my my life at home versus, a bigger business or a government entity. So let's come over here and say I want to reduce my carbon footprint. Just broadly want to understand what I should be doing to do that. So that will adjust the resources on this page with different videos and other resources that you can look at that will give you, like background information, solutions that you could implement at home. And you could, just sort of browse through there and see like what piques your interest. So that's a good way to start, I think, to sort of get really science-backed information and then action points. But the tool that I wanted to show you is really like the best tool I have yet seen for understanding like what are the most important priority actions we should be taking. And that is the solutions library. So if you're back up to that main menu under climate solutions, choose the solutions library. And that gives you background on like how they came up with this tool. And it explains how they quantify everything. So if you come to the table of solutions, this is my holy grail when I get overwhelmed with everything. And I'm like, okay, just go back to the basics and go back to these lists. So unfortunately, this is not formatted for mobile. So I'm going to turn my phone, and you could hopefully turn it with me on the video. So you can see there's 4 columns here. And they have a scenario 1 and a scenario 2. And you can read into like exactly what those 2 scenarios are. But basically they've used 2 drawdown scenarios to quantify how impactful these individual initiatives in the left-hand column would be at pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. So you can see two little triangles next to scenario 1 and scenario 2, and that will rank them based on their impact. So I like to tap them twice so that the most impactful measures for that scenario are at the top. So I just tapped the arrow for scenario 1 twice, and so it has now ranked them by impact. And so the very first one is reducing food waste. And related to that, plant-rich diets, family planning, refrigerant management. So there are some things here that you'll see like you really don't hear about very much in like US mass media. So obviously this is a global effort, and it is taking into consideration, industrial initiatives, initiatives that might be more pertinent in the global south, what some people refer to as developing economies. So it may not be something that's super relevant to you if you live in a suburb in New England, but it may be something that you want to support through philanthropy, or you may just want to focus on things that you really can, implement at home. And so you want to, food is something that is relevant to everyone. So those are good places to start. And so you can tap into that topic to get more detail on like what they're really suggesting. But just quickly, I want to show you, if you look at scenario 2, the list does change slightly. So if we rank scenario 2 by impact, you can see this scenario has onshore wind turbines and utility scale solar photovoltaics listed before it gets to plant-rich diets and reducing food waste. So, again, you can go into and read like the details on how these two scenarios are quantified. But, so for you as an individual, like onshore wind turbines is probably not something that is maybe accessible to you, but it may be something that you want to be involved in if there is like a proposal or a debate in your town or in the state legislature. But, reducing food waste is something that has gotten a lot of press recently. So if you tap into that topic, and I'm going to flip the phone back now, that will go into the background information. It tells you the names of the actual like researchers who worked on this, which I think is super interesting. Their methodology of how they calculated that actual impact of actual tons of carbon, and discussion, background references. And so then at the very bottom is this, what you can do. So they give you 3 bullet points there of action points. And so this format, again, will repeat for each of those topics that you can click on, learn more, like how is it relevant to you, what can you do, and then have sort of the background information just to feel comfortable knowing like, okay, yeah, this actually is impactful, like they've quantified it, they provide their sources and they've ranked them, rather than just, sort of going through the defaults of like, okay, like use a reusable water bottle or recycle or, try to drive less. None of that has been really effective, and it hasn't really changed, lifestyles much. And, so we find ourselves at this point where, it is really a big question of whether we're going to meet some of the climate goals that we've set out in some of these international initiatives. So Project Drawdown, it's drawdown.org. And the table of solutions under their climate solutions menu is, in their solutions library, is really the go-to for when you're getting overwhelmed and you want to just refocus on what is going to have the biggest impact. And, maybe once you've changed some of your lifestyle habits to really align with some of those, you can explore some of the other solutions that are less impactful, but, still of interest and something manageable for you to incorporate into your life.